Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us during Florida Shines Virtual College Week. My name is Nashla Dewari, and I will be facilitating today's session, Admissions into a University, where you'll learn all the details you need to know to understand and prepare for the university admissions process. Now, before we begin, I want to go over a few items with you. If you have questions, please put them in the chat section and we will answer them during the live Q&A or in a follow-up email. Closed captioning is provided for this session, and you can click on the link in the chat box. This session will be recorded. The recorded session, along with any materials, will be posted on our website at floridashines.org. And finally, we are live on Twitter, so feel free to share your comments and questions and connect with us at FL Shines. So thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Olivia Chasin. Olivia is an assistant director in the Office of Admissions at Florida State University. She started her journey at Florida State as an undergraduate student, majoring in business management and minoring in hospitality. And she has been working in the Office of Admissions for a little over 3 years. Her main focus is working with incoming freshman students to assist them in the entire admissions process. Olivia, we are very excited to hear from you today and learn more about what it takes to successfully get admitted into a Florida university. The floor is all yours, Olivia.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Olivia Chasin. I work at Florida State in the Office of Admissions. And just this presentation, I'm very excited to go through this today on how to prepare for college, pulling from my own experience when I was applying to college and going to Florida State specifically, and then just in general as being an admission officer and counselor and helping students, parents, and guidance counselors through this process. So very excited to get started. But today what we're going to cover is how to prepare from college, starting in middle school, going all the way through your senior year of high school. There's so many different things that you're able to do each year to continue to prepare yourself. So instead of getting to your senior year and being so overwhelmed by everything, you can kind of break it up and ease into the process, as I would like to say. There's so many different resources that you can use to search for colleges, but also there's resources for the SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, and also the American College Testing, the ACT. Those are the two primary standardized tests that colleges and universities take. And then finally, we'll wrap up with how to visit college campuses and how to make that visit very impactful and meaningful. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first one is about middle school, starting early. It's crazy to believe that you can start as early as middle school when you think college is so far away, such in the distance. But this is a really great time for students to really prepare themselves and form the good habits now so they can be applied later on in high school. So definitely start early, stay healthy through middle school, get enough sleep. I know when you get to that teenage years, you want to stay up late and you have to wake up early for school and so forth, but developing those good habits, study habits, staying healthy, getting enough sleep, eating your breakfast and so forth, and then start talking to people. Reach out to your counselors. If you're on an athletic team, talk to your coaches or your favorite teachers or whatnot. Just reach out and ask for advice about taking classes and what to prepare yourself for, and then also the college process as well. So starting early in that middle school time. Next, we have the 9th grade year. So going into 9th grade, going into high school, this is kind of a new chapter for you. If you didn't do so well in middle school, this is that brand new start where you can start making those good decisions and move forward. You want to start exploring colleges at this time. There's many different colleges to look for, and so just kind of exploring your options. You can attend different college fairs that might be in your local area or even at your high school and just picking up different brochures, talking to people, looking at colleges and whatnot. And then also using your time wisely. You want to use your time to see what you like to do. Do you like science and math? What can that go into as a major or a job or career or whatnot? So you can help narrow your focus. And asking for people's opinions. Say, talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your parents, and ask, what do you see me doing long-term, or what do you think my strengths are or whatnot, and then also having that self-evaluation for yourself. And starting your college search, there's close to 4,000 colleges in the nation and a lot more internationally as well. So it can be, again, it can be very, very overwhelming trying to sift through all of these colleges, especially if you're a first-generation student, or the process is much different now than when your parents applied and so forth. So there are so many tools that you can use. One very good tool is through College Board. This is the college search that you can use, and you can use that step-by-step guide, and this will help you organize your search. You can search for colleges in so many different ways, such as what size. Do you want a big college or a small college, medium size? Location, do you want to stay close to home, or do you want to travel and get as far away as you can? The cost, what types of majors are offered, what does the school focus in? There's so many different things that can help narrow your search, or you can just explore and have that broad spectrum for your first year. Again, with your study habits, you want to make sure that you're developing those good study habits and staying on top of your classes. As you can probably know, a lot of your classes will build on each other. So what you learn now, it will continue to build. So you want to make sure you have that good foundation. There's a lot of free tutoring websites available. Khan Academy, I'm sure you've heard of, and if not, maybe use it in your school and in your classrooms as well. And this is free tutoring for you. So again, you can start those good foundations now to get it started and move forward with your classes. And there's many other resources that you can utilize. There might be a mentoring program at your high school or free tutoring or whatnot. So make sure you utilize those resources. Next, we go into the 10th grade. You want to continue strong in your classes and stay focused. 10th grade is probably when you're going to start exploring more challenging classes such as advanced placement, AP, or international baccalaureate, IB, or whatnot. So 10th grade, start reviewing your schedule and making sure you're still on track, and then looking at the colleges you are interested in. There is so much information on websites for colleges. You can go to their admissions website to see their requirements, to start making goals. I know a lot of people, such as myself, I'm very goal-oriented. So when I see that this college requires this ACT or SAT or whatnot, I want to reach that goal and maximize that. So be goal-oriented, setting those goals for making all A's and B's, setting your goals for your testing and whatnot. And then start taking the pre-SAT or the pre-ACT. These are national tests to kind of give you a feel for the actual SAT and ACT of how they are formatted and what questions they ask, to kind of get a feel for all that. High school coursework, you want to look at your graduation requirements to make sure you're staying on track. Typically, you can talk to your counselors about that to make sure you're taking all the classes necessary, but also that these classes will match up to the classes you're looking for college. So you want to make sure that you're not only meeting graduation requirements, but also meeting those requirements for the college or universities that you're looking to apply to. Going above and beyond just the minimums, and taking extra classes in subjects you excel in. So if you really enjoy math, take extra classes in math to really help navigate in your focus. If you really enjoy social science, take extra classes in social science to really round you out and give you a higher chance. And then enrolling in those higher level coursework. 9th grade year, you might have options to take honors classes, but it's typically 10th grade year where you can do the even more advanced, like I was talking about, the advanced placement, AP, dual enrollment, and whatnot, to kind of get a feel for those courses. Now, keep in mind that it is your decision to take these courses, and whatever you decide, you do want to perform well in these courses. So stay focused in your classes. If you decide to take an advanced placement class, yes, it is a very rigorous class, but still performing well in that class as you would in any other class. Another great tool for students to use is the Coalition for Access, Affordability, and Success, or shortened to just the Coalition. The Coalition, students can actually create a Coalition account at any time. So you can start this as early as your 10th grade year, or even earlier or a little bit later. And there's 3 parts of Coalition, 3 main parts. First, you have the locker, and that's basically a storage area for students where they can store past projects, essays, assignments, whatnot. It's only viewable to the student unless they decide to share it with other people, but it's a great way to save those projects so you can refer back to them when you're applying for college. The next area is going to be the collaboration space. If you have a guidance counselor or a teacher and you wanted to share something with them, such as an essay for them to review and edit, you could do that in the collaboration space. And lastly is the application portal. This is where you can create your profile. And again, you can do this as early as you would like. Your profile is really asking for your biographical information, and then you can go in each year and update it and edit it. With Coalition, there is a way to have a college list. So right now there's over 130 colleges and universities that use Coalition. You can put those on your college list and really look at each college. All the requirements are formatted in the same way, so it's easier to look at them and a quicker way to review those requirements. So a great way to, again, start your planning process. Then we get to the 11th grade year, your junior year. This definitely, you'll hear a lot of people say that this is probably the hardest year of high school. You get a lot more independence. Maybe you have a car or you have your driver's license now or whatnot, but 11th grade is so critical to the college process. This is really the last year that you can leave an impression for a college, because when you get to your 12th grade year, a lot of times you're applying before you even have your grades for 12th grade. So this might be the last year that you can really leave that great impression for the colleges and universities that you're looking at. This is a great time to start narrowing your choices based on the criteria that's important to you. So maybe the most important thing to you is that they have a major that you enjoy, or maybe the most important thing is that it's a very small college and a more intimate feel. So just narrowing your choices to what's important to you, and then starting to test and test and test again. Taking the SAT and taking the ACT. I recommend students starting in their junior year and again, testing and testing again so they can bump up their scores even more in using those tools that we talked about. There are tools specifically for the different tests. The SAT uses Khan Academy. This is a free test prep tool to help boost your score. And then ACT has the test prep tools. Both of these, again, are free test prep resources. And the really nice thing about SAT and ACT test prep is if you take one of these tests and have an account, what it will do is it will analyze your scores for you and pick out areas that you can improve on and give you videos and webinars and practice tests and exams to help you improve on that section specifically. So instead of just going in and doing everything, which is not a bad thing, but again, it can be a little bit overwhelming, this allows you to identify the areas that you specifically need to improve on to make your score even stronger. So great free resources for students that you're able to use. Also, junior year, you probably want to start visiting colleges' campuses. You can do this over the summer when you're not in school, so you don't have to miss any school. You can do it on a spring break or whatnot. You do want to plan ahead. You can kind of get a little bit fun with these college tours. You can create a whole college tour trip. So let's say you're interested in a lot of different colleges and universities that are all within the same geographical region. You can create a little 1 to 2 week trip to go visit all of those. You want to make sure that you do get the full experience when you visit a campus. So you will be the one ultimately living there for the next 4, 5, or 6 years. So you want to make sure you like the campus, like the students, like the community, the atmosphere, and whatnot. Most students know within the first 20 minutes of whether they like a campus or not. So it's very critical for you to go visit and see campus. Getting the full experience, that includes eating on campus. Go to one of the dining halls, see what their food is. See if you like the food, because again, you will be eating it a lot. Speak to different students who are on campus. Maybe try to schedule a meeting with an academic advisor of a major that you're interested in, and participate in activities. So if you're going in the springtime and there's baseball games going on, or there's a circus in town, or there's a swimming event or volleyball game or whatnot, make sure you have those experiences. Go see campus. If there's an event on campus happening, like a market day Wednesday or whatnot, go see campus and get involved. Just, again, getting that student perspective on whatnot. Now, I do understand that it can be very expensive visiting different colleges with a different cost of travel and hotel and rental cars and gas and whatnot. And so our world is so virtual right now. You can really utilize virtual tours. Many colleges and universities have great virtual tours for you to use. They have a tour guide that will go with you. It will give you all the same information as a regular tour and really showcase the campus, showcase the college or university to give you more of that information. So again, you can kind of get a feel. You're going to know in the first 20 minutes whether you like it or not. Okay, we'll move on to 12th grade. So this is the big year, the year that we've been building up to, starting in middle school all the way up until 12th grade. The most important things is that you don't procrastinate and you stay organized. There is a lot going on, and there's so many dates flying through the air for different colleges, especially if you're applying to multiple colleges, which I encourage students to do. So you want to make your own calendar. Make a college calendar. It seems kind of silly, but it's a great tool to use to stay organized. And on your calendar, mark deadlines. Mark scholarship deadlines if you have to do a separate scholarship application for a school or whatnot. The free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, mark the deadline of when that's due, because a lot of that money is first come, first serve. Mark the deadlines of when you will receive your decision. There's so many dates to remember, so when you have that clean calendar, you can keep up with it. And you hear people all the time, senior year is probably the busiest year that you'll ever have, between prom, grad bash, homecoming, your last year. You want to make an impression on your school and whatnot. It can be so crazy and hectic that you want to make sure you're organized so your admission to college is not overlooked at all. And then you want to be patient. Colleges are looking at all 4 years. So they're not just looking at what you've done in the short time span your senior year to when you started senior year and when you apply. They're looking at all your past academic record. You can start working on your essay and resume before your summer leading into your 12th grade year and your first couple months to really perfect those as well. So make sure that you're patient. It is a little bit difficult because we're all antsy and we want to know as quickly as possible, but be patient for a decision. Many colleges go on 2 different patterns. One pattern is going to be a rolling decision, and what that means is you apply by a specific date and they'll release your decision once the decision is made. And then the other aspect is the deadline notification system, and what that means is you apply by a certain date, but your decision is not released until the predetermined date. And you can find that information on a college website. As you're going through the admission process, I understand that it can be overwhelming. There's a lot to navigate, a lot to go through. So don't be scared to ask questions. We're people just like your people. We're not going to judge you at all or think any less of you or anything like that. It's important to ask questions. You want to make sure you do the proper research first. So look on the websites. If you have a brochure from the university, look through that. But ask questions about any clarification you need, or any clarification on deadlines or what the school is looking for or whatnot. And then lastly, your senior year, after you have applied, after you have been admitted to hopefully all the colleges you've applied for, you'll make your final decision. But you don't want to forget about your classes. Your academics are still very, very important your senior year. You might think, oh, I'm applying before I even get my grades, so they don't matter. But that's not true at all. Your grades are so important to the colleges who are admitting you because they are looking at that. I'm sure a couple of you have heard of this little bug called senioritis. It's a very real thing for students. Basically what it means is students get to their senior year and they just kind of give up. They relax in their classes. They don't push themselves as hard and make those good grades because they think it doesn't matter. But again, senior year is very important. It's hectic, it's crazy, but your academics are still important, and this still should be number 1 for you. Senior year, you're preparing yourself for college because it does not stop in college either. You're not going to get to college and stop taking classes. You do continue to take classes to help you with the next step, which is going to graduate school or going to medical school, law school, going into the workforce or whatnot. So it's all about preparing yourself to go on to that next step. So again, here's my contact information. If you have any questions, we're going to have that live Q&A later, but I also have my email right there. And the 4 biggest things, again, that I can tell and stress to you is, number 1, do your research on the schools that you're interested in. Find different schools that fit you or that you think you're a good fit for and look into those. Number 2, plan ahead. Make a calendar. Stay organized. Start early. It might seem silly, but if you start early, you'll be better off in the end. I promise you won't be so overwhelmed. Number 3, stay organized. So again, that goes with that plan ahead. And then number 4, ask questions. Again, ask questions for clarification. Ask questions to students, to professors, faculty, staff, and whatnot. So those are my big 4 takeaways: research, plan ahead, stay organized, ask questions. But that is the end. I guess we can open it up to the Q&A.
Thank you, Olivia. Yes, absolutely. And so like you said, at this time, I want to invite our audience to send any questions you have related to the admissions process in through the chat box for Olivia. But thank you for sharing that. And so while we're preparing for those questions, Olivia, how interesting that, you can actually begin preparing as early as middle school. So it's really never too early to start thinking about those good habits and developing those good habits and getting comfortable with the process. So really interesting. We here love your calendar idea to keep track of all the deadlines and all the steps that are required as part of the process. So we love that tip. So we appreciate you sharing that information. We do have a couple of questions coming in. So the first question is related to the process as a whole. If there's a student with a disability, are there other pieces they need to think about as part of the process?
For the admission process?
Yes.
Okay, that really depends on the school. So you would have to do a little bit more research, and again, that's where you can ask questions specifically to the college, university that you're looking into to see if they require disability documents through the admission process, or if it's more on the back end of things or up front or whatnot. So that's really school dependent. But if you are have a student with any disability or whatnot, definitely reach out to that college and university to see what their process is specifically. And then also, if the student would like to receive resources while they are attending that college or university, also ask questions about that. What is available to your student? Because we want students to do as well as humanly possible for them to do in college and at that university. So definitely a good question, but it's more dependent upon the school.
Absolutely, definitely something to think about as part of the process. Olivia, the next question is related to dual enrollment. So if a student is in a dual enrollment program or taking dual enrollment credits, how do they include that as part of their college application?
So again, it's going to be school dependent. Unfortunately, there's not just one application for a blanket application for every school, but generally the student will report that they are attending a college or university while they are still in high school. Even if the classes are taught at the high school specifically, there is a college associated with that. So they will report that they are attending there, and typically the college and university that they're applying to will require that they send a transcript from that institution just so they can look at that grades and so forth. Some colleges do accept that credit as transfer credit. So if you have taken dual enrollment in college and done some of your general education requirements, such as some English or math or history or whatnot, those could potentially transfer over to the university or college that you are going to. So that's a really great benefit for students. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword because typically if the credits do transfer, the GPA from the college transfers as well. So whatever grades you receive in college, those grades will follow you to whatever college or university that you go to if they accept that transfer credit. So keep in mind when you're taking dual enrollment, a lot of times that does start your college record at that time. So it's very important that you do well in those courses just as you would do well in any other course.
Olivia, sort of along the dual enrollment process or the dual enrollment programs and AP, and you talked a little about honors and IB, do universities typically have a preference for which ones they recommend? Is there one that's better than another as the student's thinking about their options?
Again, that unfortunately it's so broad to say what specifically a university or college institution is looking for. Some colleges and universities count them as all the same. Some do not accept dual enrollment dual enrollment credit. So it's better for the student to take AP or IB. And that's where it comes in. That's why it's so important to start this process earlier so you can get an idea of the colleges that you're looking at. So you can, again, start contacting them, asking those questions, or reviewing on their website of what's preferred before you're going into those classes and making those decisions. So back in your 9th grade or 10th grade year, determining, okay, what am I interested in? What institutions am I interested in? And what credit is important to them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Olivia. So many good questions and lots of things to think about as you're sort of getting through the process. The next few questions are related to testing and entrance exams, Olivia. Are you, and you may not be aware, but is it typically across the board that most universities in Florida take the SAT and ACT?
From what I'm aware, in Florida, pretty much every institution does take both. There are going to be some schools that are what's called test optional. And basically what that means is if they are test optional, you can opt out of taking that standardized test and they will not use that in the admission portion. There are a few schools out there, I believe there's a few in Florida as well, but generally if a school does need testing for admission, they will accept both the ACT and the SAT.
Okay, wonderful. And so along with scoring, if a student doesn't have strong scores in their entrance exams, do colleges typically look at other factors like extracurricular activities or grades on their transcript? What are some other things that they can do?
Generally, every college does use what's called a holistic review. Some colleges strictly use your GPA and test score, but the general move and consensus is going towards this holistic review. And what this means is it's looking at the student as a whole. So it's looking at the student, yes, test scores, the GPA, but really digging into them and seeing what they're all about, the classes they're taking, how they're performing in those classes, if the school has an essay option, really learning about the student more throughout the essay, and then also the resume as well. Those are pretty typical for every college, and it's so important that students do those because that's really a great way for the institution to really learn about the student on a more personal level. So I always tell students when you're writing your essay, you want to make sure that your voice is conveyed and that you speak truly from the heart. Of course, it's important to have good grammar and good punctuation and everything like that, but also really looking and analyzing the questions that's being asked and answering it to the best of your ability to really making sure your voice is conveyed through that.
Thanks, Olivia. And as we prepare for the entrance exams, you mentioned Khan Academy as one of the resources that students can use to prepare for SAT. Are there any others, or can you reiterate that resource that are free practice tests for students to take?
Sure. So both tests, the SAT and ACT, have their own free test prep tools. SAT, which is through College Board, has associated themselves with Khan Academy. And many people are familiar with Khan Academy just using it in school and whatnot. And then ACT has their own in-house test prep tools, and that's just called ACT Test Prep. And again, both tools are really nice because if you do a test and you have an account and everything and it's registered and whatnot, both tools will actually analyze your test to pull out what you need to improve on and provide different videos, webinars, practice tests, and whatnot to you so you can study through those. Both tools do provide practice exams. I know ACT specifically, they do a question of the day. SAT has the practice writing samples and so forth. So both tools are very comparable in what they offer. It just depends on which test you're taking. I would encourage students, if they are able to, take both tests at least once. They are very different tests, but it's great to see you might be stronger in one test over the other. But just so you kind of have an idea, take both if you are able to.
And so, Olivia, along those lines, should students ever have to pay to take the SAT or to do a practice test? Do they pay? And what are the expectations there?
That's more of a kind of, it's hard for me to tell people whether they should pay or not, just due to the fact that it's not my money. So I would say that's more of a personal question for yourself. There are a lot of free tools available to students. So if you want to try both, you can practice out the free tools, test, see if that makes a difference. And then if you decide that you wanted to hire a tutor or pay for a practice exam or whatnot, you could do that as well. But again, that's kind of more of a personal choice since it is dealing with your money. Unfortunately, I don't have enough money to pay for everyone. But there are the free tools available if finances, if you're not able to pay. Definitely students have the resources to study for a test if they're not financially able to afford a tutor or whatnot.
Okay, so yeah, it's good to know that they have a variety of ranges or options if they want to pay or if they want to seek out the free resources. Olivia, we have a few questions related to tours. So for tours, if a student wants to visit during the summer or schedule a tour, which office on campus should they typically be looking for at the institution?
Yeah, that's a good question. Generally, it's called, most institutions call it a visitor center, and it's generally tied with the Office of Admissions. Generally, those two go hand in hand, and actually what a lot of schools are doing now and what they've done previous years is when you go to visit a school, you can do an admission information session, and that's a pretty quick session that you can sit in on and just learn more information about the admission process and everything for that school, and then you go on the tour of the school or vice versa. So schools, they kind of team up the admissions and the tour just because those kind of go hand in hand with each other, and you can get kind of kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So you can learn all that information in one setting. If you're not seeing it in the admissions or whatnot, or off of the main page, it's pretty quick. Google is a great tool where you can just Google the school's name and then touring, and it should pop up with the correct information for you.
Okay, wonderful. And so I know you said earlier there's also the option of the virtual tour without having to travel, but then it's nice if people go there to be able to meet with someone and ask specific questions about the process. Olivia, in terms of applying to schools, do you have a recommendation, or is there a recommendation on the average how many colleges students should apply to, or how many universities students should apply to?
So that's kind of a personal choice, but I think the trend right now is for students to apply to about 5 to 10 different schools. And so 5 would be on the smaller list and 10 would be on the larger list of schools to apply for. And it really just depends on the student. Students, again, our world is becoming so much more mobile and virtual and stuff. We see a lot of students are traveling to go to school. And because of the internet, where a lot of institutions are able to give out more information that students might not have known about before. But generally, applying to 5 to 10 different schools is what the trend is right now.
Okay, wow, that's good to know. So, Olivia, in terms of, I know you mostly work with incoming freshmen, but there's a question about the process if you attend a community college first and then you want to transfer into a university. How does that process work? What does that look like? And are there additional pieces that students need to consider if they are going to be transfer students?
Right. So transferring is a little bit of a different process, and that process is going to be dependent upon the school. You still go through an application process just like you would as applying as an incoming freshman. And if a student would still like to go tour the school, they're more than welcome to. I think that's a great resource to, again, see what the school offers and so forth. But when you're coming in as a transfer, you're typically, what I've seen is students are really looking for schools that have the specific major that they have in mind. Because typically coming in with your, coming from a community college, especially if you're coming in with your Associate of Arts degree, your AA degree, you're typically ready to start in your major when you go to that college or university. So that's freshmen tend to look at many more factors. Major does play a big factor, but I feel like transfer students are more so looking for the school that matches with the major that they're looking for. Now the process is going to vary dependent upon the school, but it is all listed on the website just like it would be listed for a freshman.
Absolutely, and like you said, Olivia, it's always good to get started early to see what's going to fit best with the student's needs and their plan and their ultimate degree goals. So that's very, very important. In terms of online programs, Olivia, do colleges and universities offer online programs, and is the admissions process typically the same?
So again, this kind of goes back to our world becoming more virtual. A lot of colleges and universities, a lot of institutions have realized that there is a strong need to have more of an online presence for students to have those options to taking classes online. As being distance learners is what it's typically called. It's now what colleges offer more online classes and what colleges offer more in-person classes is really going to be dependent upon the college, and also dependent upon does that specific school have the resources available. And so a lot of times some schools might just only offer in-person classes, and those are going to be more of your traditional schools. But there are other schools that offer entire degree programs online. So again, that goes back to finding what is the best fit for you.
Absolutely, and I want to just do a quick plug for Florida Shines. If you are interested in an online program, Florida Shines offers a listing of all of the state's online programs, and so if you go to floridashines.org and click on Discover Degrees Online, you'll be able to see all of the programs. So if you know the type of program you're looking for, you'll be able to see what institutions offer them and so on. So just another tool to look into those. Olivia, back to timeline. Is it easier to get into a university if a student applies in the summer semester?
That's dependent upon the school, really. Some schools, there is no difference between the summer and fall. Other schools, there is, because some schools do it based on how competitive the applicant pool is, and generally more students apply to the fall term. That's the most popular term to apply for, and so the fall might be a little bit more competitive than the summer. But again, it's really dependent upon the school, and also dependent of if the school allows the student to apply to the summer. Definitely some of your smaller schools only allow students to start during the fall because it's a great way to get plugged in with other students as well as on campus. So that's going to be school dependent, but a lot of schools, like I said, they go based on how competitive the applicant pool is, and generally the applicant pool is more competitive in the fall just because more students are applying for the fall.
Thank you, Olivia. And there's a question here about tools that help students figure out what they're good at, what their interests are, strengths, weaknesses, to help them narrow down their career path. And so I want to just say quickly to our audience something about My Career Shines. So My Career Shines is a state tool that allows you to learn more about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and from there it gives you recommendations about programs, majors that you should be looking at, and even career occupations. So it's mycareershines.org, and there's a link there where you can learn more or ask questions if you run into any questions. But Olivia, do you have additional recommendations for tools that students can use to learn more about their interests and their skills?
I have used that. It's Career Shines, correct?
Yes.
So I have used that tool, and that's a great tool for students to use. But any aptitude test or a personality test or whatnot, there's so many different tests on the internet. If you just Google it, and a lot of them are free for students to really narrow down what they are focused in or what their strengths are or so forth. I don't have any specific besides that. Career Shine is what I did in high school. And so just kind of exploring those options, but a personality test or anything like that would definitely be a great fit for students. And then just also asking people what they think their strengths are. A lot of times other people see different strengths that you may not see in yourself, and kind of can help give you guidance on that.
Okay, definitely a good place to start to figure out what your major should be. But Olivia, I think you'll agree to say that even if a student is undecided about their major, they should still start early with the admissions process to make sure that they're preparing for that, again, even if they're undecided, right?
Correct. And I mean, there probably over half of students who apply to college are still unsure of exactly what they would like to do, but there's so many other factors in picking a college rather than just on major. There's so many, whether you like the campus, whether it's too small, too big, you like the location or whatnot, there's so many other things. And then a lot of times students who do choose a major end up changing their major once they're in college, or they might keep it. So even if you're not sure of what you would like to do, still start early and start your search and your planning early, so you can focus in on those other factors that are more important to you rather than just your major.
Absolutely. I know, Olivia, you're going to spend a lot of time on campus, so that is so important. So,
yeah.
Olivia, in the interest of time, we have one more question related to admission. So if a student is not meeting the school's test scores requirements, but they're close, should they still apply via the priority deadline, or should they move to a later deadline to make sure they take the test more times or accumulate more scores? Basically, should they defer to a later date? What is your recommendation if they're not quite meeting the test score requirements?
Right. So a lot of times colleges, what they give to students for their requirements is what is called a middle 50th percentile range, and that basically is the the students who were admitted last year. This is the middle 50th percentile of what they had. So keep that in mind. Don't let that discourage you from applying to the school. But I think that's more so on the school's fact, whether it's, they should apply early or give a little bit more time to bump up those test scores. Some schools have something called early admission, early action, which basically means if I'm admitted, then I am coming to this school and I've committed, and others, or a priority deadline or whatnot, and other schools do not. So it really just depends on the school. Kind of the trend that I'm seeing in the state of Florida is probably more so apply by the first deadline. That's going to give you more of a chance to be reviewed as an applicant.
Very good information, Olivia. And we have a couple more questions that are more institution specific. So I want to let our audience know that we are going to be following up with you with any questions that we didn't address in today's webinar via email, or share them with you, Olivia, if you'd like to provide more information to them as well. So I want to thank you, Olivia, for sharing all that wealth of knowledge and resources today. And as a reminder to our audience, the recorded session along with the presentation and any materials and links we shared today will be posted on our website at floridashines.org. Now, if you'd like to learn more about college success, bright futures, and college athletics, join us next at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock Eastern this afternoon. You can sign up for this or tomorrow or any of the webinars provided during Virtual College Week in any of the topics presented live at virtualcollegeweek.org. So again, thank you, Olivia, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.